Captain Alex Reynolds sat in the cockpit of his spaceship, the Aurora, as it trembled violently. Alarms screamed in shrill tones, lights flashing red across the control panel. He gritted his teeth, gripping the controls tightly. Something had gone terribly wrong with the ship's propulsion system. Engine failure. Partial control. Must land, Alex muttered to himself. He scanned the navigation screen and saw an unknown planet below. Its surface glowed with strange colors, green and violet rivers winding through mountains that floated slightly above the ground. Clouds shimmered like silver silk in the sky. He had never seen anything like it. With precise adjustments, he guided the ship toward the surface, but the damage was too severe. The Aurora skidded across a field of strange glowing rocks, bouncing and screeching before finally coming to a halt. Smoke poured from the broken engine and sparks flew from the damaged panels. Alex coughed and forced himself out of the cockpit. He was alive. The air outside was breathable, though faintly sweet, almost like honey mixed with ozone. Strange plants glowed faintly along the rocks, casting soft light across the landscape. Alex took a deep breath and scanned the horizon. Mountains floated above the ground, rivers glimmered with colors he couldn't name, and the sky pulsed with strange lights. He had no idea where he was, but for now survival was his first concern. He retrieved a small repair kit from the ship and began assessing the damage. The communicator was fried, leaving him cut off from Earth. He would have to rely on his skills to fix the ship, or to survive until help arrived. Hours passed as Alex worked, the alien sun rising and setting with colors that shifted from purple to gold. Exhausted, he leaned back against a rock, rubbing his sore shoulders. That's when he noticed movement. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light. Then a figure stepped out from behind a floating boulder. Tall, graceful, and radiant, the being looked humanoid but distinctly alien. Her skin shimmered with a soft glow, her eyes large and golden, and her hair floated around her shoulders like liquid silver. She wore a flowing outfit of material Alex had never seen, delicate yet strong, decorated with tiny lights that pulsed gently. Alex froze. His instincts screamed at him to be careful. He raised a hand in a friendly gesture. I come in peace, he said, his voice calm but steady. The alien watched him silently, tilting her head as if studying him. Then she spoke, her voice soft but musical. Alex couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear, curious and cautious. He tried again, using gestures this time. He pointed to himself, then to her, then made a motion of speaking. She repeated the gestures, her eyes wide and observant. Slowly, a bridge of understanding began to form. Over the next few hours, Alex and the alien learned each other's basic ways of communicating. He discovered her name was Lyra, a princess of her people. She spoke carefully, pointing at objects, using gestures and touching glowing symbols on a small tablet she carried. Alex responded with simple words, drawings in the dirt, and gestures. Though the language barrier was immense, something else bridged the gap: shared intelligence and curiosity. Lyra guided him to a freshwater stream that sparkled under the alien sky. Alex drank and felt his strength returning. In return, he showed her how to use a small tool to clean and repair minor damages to the glowing plants nearby. Lyra's expression changed subtly. She seemed impressed, her golden eyes reflecting admiration and curiosity. Alex smiled, exhausted but encouraged. In that moment, he realized he was not alone, and that this meeting might change both their lives forever. Night fell quickly, the sky filling with glowing constellations he had never seen. The air became cooler, and Alex shivered. Lyra noticed, immediately. She pointed to a small cave nearby and gestured for him to follow. Hesitant but trusting, he entered the cave with her. Inside, the walls glowed softly, the light coming from crystals embedded in the rock. Lyra touched one of the crystals, and a warm, gentle light spread across the cave. She motioned for Alex to sit. He did, still marveling at the strange beauty around him. She handed him a small piece of fruit glowing faintly in her hand. Alex tasted it, sweet, refreshing, and energizing. like nothing he had ever eaten before. "You good?" she asked, using gestures and simple words he could understand. Okay," Alex replied, smiling. "Thank you." For a long time, they sat in silence, watching the glowing crystals reflect light across the cave walls. Alex studied her, realizing that her curiosity matched his own. She had not attacked him, nor had she shown fear. Instead, she had approached, cautiously, observing and learning. He realized then that human traits, courage, patience, and respect, were valuable even on a distant world. And perhaps, he thought, that same human heart could bridge gaps between worlds. As he prepared to rest for the night, he noticed that Lyra stayed near the entrance of the cave, her golden eyes scanning the surroundings, protective and alert. Alex felt a strange sense of trust. Despite being stranded on an alien world, he was not completely alone. Morning came with a pale green light, casting long shadows across the glowing terrain. Alex stretched, ready to continue his work. The communicator was still broken. The ship, unrepaired, but he had a new mission: to survive and to learn as much as he could about this planet and its people. Lyra appeared again, waiting outside the cave. She held a small, spherical device that emitted soft pulses of light. She pointed at Alex, then touched the device. A holographic map appeared between them, showing part of the planet. Alex studied it carefully. Though he could not read her language, fully he understood the meaning. She was offering guidance. She would help him explore. Together they moved across the alien landscape. Alex marveled at the strange flora and fauna, careful to respect the delicate balance of the ecosystem. He learned quickly. Some plants were edible, some were dangerous, some creatures were friendly, others shy. Lyra observed him closely, impressed by his attention to detail and respect for her world. At one point they came across a small village built into floating rock platforms. Lyra hesitated, glancing at Alex. He nodded, understanding that this was her home, and they approached slowly. Villagers watched from a distance, curious but wary. Alex bowed slightly, smiling gently, showing he meant no harm. Lyra whispered words he could not understand, but her tone reassured him. Slowly, the villagers stepped forward. They examined Alex, whispering among themselves, then returned to their homes. It was clear they were unsure of the human, but they did not attack. Alex realized that trust had to be earned, not just with Lyra, but with her people. And he understood something important. Humans, through courage, kindness, and ingenuity, could gain respect even in a world far from Earth. As night fell again, Lyra led him back to the cave. This time she allowed him to sleep inside while she stayed near the entrance. Alex closed his eyes, thinking about the day's events. He had survived a crash, encountered an alien princess, and begun forming a bond that crossed language, culture, and species. He smiled to himself. Despite the unknown dangers ahead, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this planet, strange and beautiful, would not just be a place of survival, but the beginning of something extraordinary. As he drifted into sleep, he promised himself he would find a way to repair his ship, to explore this world, and to earn the trust of Lyra and her people. And maybe, just maybe, he could touch her heart with the same courage, respect, and kindness that humanity had always valued. Outside, Lyra watched over him, her golden eyes reflecting the soft glow of the crystals. She had never met a being like him before, so brave, so clever, so kind. For the first time, she felt curiosity turn into admiration. The bond between human and alien had begun quietly, in a cave on a world far from Earth, under skies that shimmered with unfamiliar stars. And the story of courage, understanding, and perhaps even love was only just beginning. The morning sun painted the alien sky in shades of orange and green, and Captain Alex Reynolds awoke feeling both restless and determined. He had survived the crash, gained the cautious trust of Princess Lyra, and seen the wonders of her glowing world. Yet he knew that trust alone would not be enough. To truly be accepted by her people, he had to prove his courage. Lyra was already waiting outside the cave. She held a small crystal-like device in her hands, the glow pulsing softly. When Alex emerged, she gestured for him to follow. Without words, he understood that this was the beginning of his first true test. They traveled across floating mountains and rivers that shimmered like liquid light. The terrain was treacherous. Glowing plants that looked beautiful could sting or release hallucinogenic pollen. Alex moved carefully, studying every step, demonstrating patience and intelligence. Lyra watched silently, impressed by his careful observation. After a long walk, they reached a vast chasm. On the other side, atop a jagged cliff, a large crystal pulsed with vibrant energy. Lyra's hand hovered over her device, projecting a holographic map that showed the crystal was vital to the village below. Without it, a source of energy that powered the floating platforms and their homes would fail. Lyra pointed to the crystal, then back to Alex, and tapped her chest. He understood. Instantly, he was to retrieve it. The path was dangerous, the climb steep and slick with strange minerals. Alex glanced at Lyra, who nodded with quiet encouragement. "I can do this," he said simply, more to himself than to her. He began the climb, hands and feet moving carefully over the uneven surfaces. The wind gusted unpredictably between the floating mountains, threatening to push him off balance. Several times he paused, studying the rock formations and planning his route. Lyra followed from a safe distance, occasionally projecting small lights to guide him without interfering. As he neared the crystal, a group of alien creatures emerged from the shadows. They were large, with translucent skin and multiple glowing eyes, and they moved with surprising speed. Alex froze for a moment, then remembered his training. He slowly raised his hands, showing he meant no harm, and stepped cautiously. The creatures studied him but made no aggressive move. Alex noticed a pattern in their behavior. They reacted to sudden movements. Using this observation, he moved, carefully, slowly approaching the crystal. When he finally reached it, he saw that it was embedded in a rock formation, difficult to remove. He examined the structure, thinking like an engineer. With a small set of tools from his backpack, he began to carefully loosen the crystal without damaging it. Sweat beaded his forehead, but he worked steadily, aware that failure could endanger both himself and the village below. Finally, with one careful pull, the crystal came free. It glowed brighter in his hands, as if recognizing the courage and care with which it had been retrieved. Just as he was about to turn back, the creatures began to move toward him more aggressively. Alex held the crystal firmly and slowly stepped back, never turning his back. Using a combination of gestures, calm movements, and his understanding of their behavior, he guided them away from the path, creating a safe passage back. Lyra clapped, softly from a distance, her golden eyes sparkling with admiration. When Alex finally returned to solid ground, she approached him, gesturing a mixture of pride and gratitude. Though she could not speak his language fully, her expressions were enough. "You, brave," she said simply, pointing to him, then to the crystal and finally to the village. Alex nodded, exhausted but proud. He handed the crystal to her. It pulsed gently in her hands, and she smiled for the first time with warmth and openness. He realized that trust had begun to turn into respect, and perhaps something more. The journey back to the village was filled with silent observation. Alex noticed the subtle ways the villagers looked at him, some with curiosity, others with quiet approval. Lyra occasionally touched his shoulder or made a soft gesture, showing that she valued his company and his courage. When they reached the village, the elders came forward. They inspected Alex carefully, their expressions serious. But when they saw the crystal safe and intact, they nodded in approval. Lyra's people began to murmur among themselves, realizing that this human was not a threat. He had faced danger and succeeded. One elder stepped forward, gesturing for Alex to follow. He led him to a small platform overlooking the village. From there, Alex could see the entire settlement, floating platforms connected by glowing bridges, gardens of luminous plants, and families going about their daily lives. The elder touched a device near the platform, and a series of symbols appeared in the air. Though Alex could not read them fully, he recognized the meaning. They were offering him a token of honor, acknowledging his bravery and success. Alex bowed slightly, his respect clear. He had earned his first recognition on this alien world. Later, as the sun set in brilliant streaks of violet and gold, Alex and Lyra walked along a path lined with glowing flora. He asked her questions using gestures, wanting to learn more about her people and their customs. Lyra responded patiently, teaching him small phrases and signs. "You... clever," she said at one point, pointing at him and then at her own head, indicating intelligence. Alex smiled. "Thank you," he said, trying to mimic her gestures. She giggled softly, a sound like wind chimes. They came across a small clearing where alien children played among glowing vines. Lyra encouraged Alex to try interacting with them. Hesitant at first, he joined their games, using simple gestures and playful movements. The children laughed and some approached him cautiously, then more boldly as they realized he was friendly. Lyra watched with a smile, her admiration for him growing with each passing moment. As night fell, Lyra guided Alex back to the cave. She handed him a small soft blanket made from the fibers of a glowing plant. Alex wrapped himself in it, feeling warmth and comfort. Lyra sat nearby, watching over him. He realized that she cared for his safety and that the bond between them was deepening. He could not communicate fully, yet he felt a connection stronger than words. He thought about Earth, his training, and all he had learned as a human. Humanity had always faced challenges, unknown worlds, dangerous environments, and the need to adapt. Here, on this alien planet, those same human traits, courage, intelligence, empathy were not just useful, they were remarkable. The next morning, Alex woke to find Lyra standing outside the cave, a new device in her hand. It projected a small floating map of a more dangerous area, a place where her people had reported strange disturbances. She pointed at him and then at the path, clearly asking for his help. Alex nodded. "I'll go," he said, determination in his eyes. He had already proven his courage once, and he was ready to do so again. This time it was not just for survival, but to continue earning trust, and to explore the bond growing between him and Lyra. As they set out together, he realized that this alien world was testing more than his physical abilities. It tested patience, observation, and understanding, but he was human, and humans were meant to overcome challenges, to adapt, and to persevere. The path ahead was filled with unknown dangers, floating rocks, strange creatures, and environmental hazards, but Alex felt ready. With Lyra by his side, he was no longer just a stranded astronaut. He was an explorer, a protector, and perhaps something more. Through every obstacle, he would show the strength of humanity, not through force, but through courage, respect, and ingenuity. And in doing so, he was slowly winning the admiration of the alien princess, though neither of them fully realized just how important this journey would become for both their worlds. For Alex, every step, every decision, and every act of courage was a chance to prove that humans, even far from Earth, could make a difference. And for Lyra, every glance and every small gesture revealed a growing fascination and respect for the human who had arrived on her world by chance, yet seemed destined to leave a lasting mark. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Alex and Lyra paused on a ridge overlooking the village. They did not speak, but the silence was comfortable, filled with understanding and shared purpose. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, Alex felt that being stranded might lead to something extraordinary. He looked at Lyra, and in her eyes, he saw a reflection of trust and curiosity. And though words were limited, the bond between them grew stronger, hinting at adventures, challenges, and perhaps even feelings that neither had expected. The following morning, the alien world glowed softly under twin suns, casting long shadows across the floating mountains. Captain Alex Reynolds stretched and took a deep breath of the sweet, honeyed air. After proving his courage, He felt a growing sense of purpose. He was no longer just a stranded astronaut. He had become a guest in Princess Lyra's world, someone who could learn, help, and perhaps even belong. Lyra awaited him outside the cave, her golden eyes reflecting the twin sun's light. She held a small device projecting a shimmering map into the air. Alex studied it carefully. Though he could not read her language fully, he understood that she wanted him to explore the area with her. Today, it seemed, was not about testing courage, but about understanding. As they set out, Alex noticed the careful way Lyra moved through her land. Every step seemed purposeful. She paused often, pointing to small plants, flowing water, or creatures they encountered. Alex paid close attention, following her guidance and learning about this extraordinary world. "This safe?" he asked, pointing to a glowing plant. Lyra smiled gently and shook her head. Then, using gestures, she guided him to step around it. Alex nodded, realizing that even beauty in this world could be dangerous. It reminded him that understanding and observation were just as important as bravery. After a short walk, they reached a small settlement nestled among floating rocks. Children played on suspended bridges. Adults worked with glowing tools, and gentle creatures with translucent wings moved among them. Alex observed quietly, careful not to disturb the balance of life here. Lyra pointed to a group of villagers who struggled to repair a broken bridge connecting two platforms. Alex walked over, offering a simple nod and gestures to show he wanted to help. Using his engineering knowledge, he suggested a new method of reinforcing the bridge with nearby materials. Though the villagers hesitated at first, Lyra encouraged them, and they allowed Alex to assist. With careful measurements and clever adjustments, Alex helped stabilize the bridge. The villagers watched in awe as the humans solved a problem they had struggled with for days. Lyra beamed with pride, clearly impressed by his intelligence and willingness to help. "Good human," she said, pointing at him and then to the repaired bridge. Alex smiled, realizing that actions often spoke louder than words. He had earned more than respect. He had begun earning trust. After the repairs, Lyra led Alex further into the settlement. She showed him her people's technology, devices that captured sunlight and converted it into energy, tools that allowed them to shape floating rocks into bridges and homes, and communication devices that displayed images in midair. Alex was fascinated. He asked questions using gestures, pointing, and simple words. Lyra patiently explained, sometimes guiding his hands to demonstrate. He noticed how advanced her people were, yet how much they relied on collaboration and care. Their strength was not just technology, but understanding, empathy, and connection. Alex admired their ways, realizing that humans and aliens could learn much from each other. Later, they came across a small garden filled with glowing fruits and plants. Lyra pointed to a plant, then to Alex, and finally touched her chest. He understood she wanted him to try it. The fruit was soft, pulsing with light. Alex took a cautious bite. Sweet, tangy, and energizing, it reminded him of fruits from Earth, but more vibrant. Lyra watched him, her expression a mix of curiosity and amusement. "You like?" she asked, using gestures to convey the question. Alex nodded enthusiastically. "Delicious," he said, smiling. Lyra's eyes sparkled, and for a moment Alex felt a connection that went beyond language. Sharing food, sharing experiences, these were universal bonds. As they continued their journey, Alex asked her questions about her people's customs, their values, and the challenges they faced. Lyra demonstrated, gestured, and sometimes led him to areas where her people worked to maintain the delicate balance of their world. Alex observed how they solved problems creatively, showing teamwork, patience, and intelligence. He realized that humans shared many of these traits. Courage, curiosity, and empathy were not unique to any one species, but humans had a resilience and ingenuity that could complement the wisdom of other civilizations. In this way, he could contribute, not just survive. Midday brought a sudden storm. Winds whipped around floating rocks and sharp bolts of energy arced through the air. Lyra's people rushed to secure their homes and floating bridges. Alex instinctively helped, tying ropes, securing fragile structures, and guiding villagers to safety. Lyra followed closely, her golden eyes wide with admiration. When the storm passed, the settlement was intact, thanks in part to Alex's quick thinking. Villagers whispered among themselves, realizing that this human had not only courage but intelligence and compassion. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, a small gesture of gratitude that spoke volumes. "That human, strong," she said simply, pointing at him and then to her heart. Alex smiled, understanding the sentiment. Respect and appreciation were growing, not just from her, but from her people as well. That evening, they returned to the cave. Alex was tired but satisfied. Lyra had prepared a small meal of glowing fruits and a soft drink that shimmered like liquid light. They ate together in silence, the warmth of shared effort and trust filling the space. Afterward, Lyra gestured toward the stars above. Using the glowing tablet she carried, she showed him constellations and celestial maps. Alex recognized patterns pointing out similarities to Earth's night sky. Lyra's eyes widened in surprise and delight. Though separated by light years, their minds could connect through observation and curiosity. "You clever?" she said softly, touching his hand briefly. Alex felt a spark of warmth. He realized that mutual understanding was forming slowly, step by step, moment by moment. Over the next few days, Alex continued to explore Lyra's world. He assisted villagers with repairs, studied alien plants and animals, and shared simple stories about Earth. Lyra listened intently, fascinated by humans' ability to adapt, survive, and create. In turn, she taught him about her world's history, values, and technology. One afternoon, they encountered a damaged energy tower that supplied power to part of the settlement. Alex immediately assessed the structure. Using tools and methods adapted from his Earth training, he proposed a repair plan. Lyra communicated with the villagers, guiding them to follow his instructions. The work was dangerous. Cracks in the tower could collapse at any moment, and the materials were delicate. Alex moved with precision, showing patience, intelligence, and courage. Lyra assisted, holding devices steady and ensuring safety. Together they stabilized the tower, restoring power to the settlement. The villagers cheered quietly, their admiration for the human growing. Lyra's expression was full of pride. She had seen many travelers, but none had shown such courage, intelligence, and care for her people. That night, Alex and Lyra sat outside the cave, gazing at the stars. The twin suns had set, leaving a sky of deep violet and sparkling lights. Alex felt a sense of belonging, though he was far from Earth. Lyra sat close, pointing to constellations, then to him, and finally to her heart. He understood the meaning. Clearly, a bond was forming, built on trust, courage, and shared experience. Alex realized that understanding was the next test of his humanity. Survival had proven courage. Helping the village had shown intelligence and compassion. Now, he had to understand Lyra, her people, and their world. Only then could he truly earn respect and trust. In the following days, Alex continued learning. He studied alien tools, practiced local customs, and observed how Lyra's people solved problems. He shared Earth methods of engineering, water purification, and basic medicine, always careful to respect their traditions. Lyra observed every action, silently impressed by his willingness to help without demanding recognition. One evening, they discovered a hidden grove where alien wildlife gathered. A young creature with translucent wings and glowing eyes was trapped under a fallen branch. Alex quickly lifted it gently, checking for injuries. Lyra watched, her expression softening. "You kind?" she said, pointing to him, then to the creature, and finally to her heart. Alex smiled, realizing that compassion was a universal language. Through each shared experience, repairing towers, saving creatures, exploring the land, Alex and Lyra's bond deepened. Trust had grown into admiration, and admiration into something quietly more. They did not speak words of love, But in gestures, shared moments, and mutual respect, something meaningful was forming. Alex understood now that humanity's greatest strength was not weapons or technology alone. It was courage, intelligence, empathy, and the ability to connect. Here on a distant alien world, those traits were proving themselves once more, leaving an impression on both a princess and her people. As they returned to the cave that night, the twin moons casting soft silver light, Alex felt hope. He had learned much about Lyra, her people, and their challenges. He had shared parts of humanity and seen them appreciated. And slowly, step by step, a bridge was forming, between species, between worlds, and between two hearts. He sat near the cave entrance, watching Lyra inspect the village below. For the first time, he did not feel alone. This world, so strange and beautiful, was beginning to feel like a place where humans could make a difference. And perhaps, in time, it could be a place where his heart might also find a home. The day dawned with a soft green glow as twin suns rose over the alien horizon. Captain Alex Reynolds and Princess Lyra were walking along the edge of the settlement when a sudden alarm rang out, a sharp, pulsating sound that echoed through the floating platforms. Villagers ran toward the source, panic in their eyes. Alex's heart raced. Something was wrong. Lyra grabbed his arm and pointed toward the sky. A fleet of unfamiliar ships had appeared, sleek and dark, hovering ominously above the village. Alex's stomach tightened. He had faced dangers before, but this was different. These ships were armed and clearly hostile. The village elders gathered quickly, issuing commands to secure their homes and floating bridges. Lyra turned to Alex, her golden eyes filled with concern. Using gestures, she explained that the approaching faction was a rival alien group that distrusted outsiders. They believed humans could bring danger to Lyra's people. Alex understood immediately. "I help," he said firmly, determination in his eyes. He would not run. This world had given him trust, respect, and a chance to connect with Lyra. He would defend it. Lyra nodded, relief and admiration in her gaze. She gestured for him to follow as they moved toward the village's central control hub. Inside, glowing panels and holographic displays showed the approaching ships and their possible attack patterns. Alex studied the maps quickly, analyzing the terrain and the village's weak points. "This plan," he said, pointing to the map, "use human's idea." Lyra's brow furrowed. Then she gestured for him to explain. Using simple words, sketches, and gestures, Alex devised a plan. He suggested using the floating bridges and energy barriers to channel the attackers into controlled zones, allowing villagers to defend key points while minimizing risk. Lyra communicated his plan to the elders, who hesitated at first but then agreed. They began preparing defensive measures. Energy barriers were reinforced, villagers positioned strategically, and small drones were set to monitor the enemy. Alex moved quickly among them, giving clear instructions, adjusting tactics, and keeping morale high. The first wave of enemy ships attacked. They fired energy pulses that struck the outer platforms, causing vibrations and sparks. Alex stayed calm. He guided the villagers to use the barriers strategically, redirecting the energy pulses and minimizing damage. Lyra's eyes shone with admiration as she observed his calm under pressure. As the battle continued, Alex noticed a cluster of enemy ships targeting a vulnerable bridge connecting two key platforms. He grabbed a lightweight energy launcher and positioned himself to defend it. Lyra followed, holding a device that amplified energy shields. Together, they formed a small but effective team. The enemy ships were relentless, but Alex's strategy worked. He moved with precision, timing his defensive actions perfectly, while Lyra's shields absorbed several attacks. The villagers, inspired by their leadership, fought courageously. Alex marveled at their coordination and adaptability. He realized that humans, when combined with intelligence and courage, could inspire even alien allies. During a brief lull, Alex noticed a small group of enemy ships attempting to bypass defenses and strike the village center. He quickly calculated an intercept strategy. Using a combination of energy barriers and clever maneuvers, he redirected the ships into a trap, where their energy pulses were neutralized by controlled energy fields. Lyra followed his movements closely, assisting him seamlessly. When the enemy finally retreated, the village erupted in quiet cheers. The elders approached Alex, bowing slightly in respect. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes glowing with gratitude. "You, human, brave," she said simply, pointing to him and then to the village. Alex smiled, realizing that courage and intelligence could bridge worlds. He had not only helped protect the village, but had also gained the admiration of Lyra and her people. The following days were filled with recovery and planning. Alex assisted in repairing damaged bridges, reinforcing energy barriers, and training villagers in basic defensive strategies. Lyra remained by his side, guiding him and observing his methods. She was fascinated by the way he combined logic, creativity, and calm under pressure. One afternoon, Alex and Lyra were surveying a newly repaired bridge when a small child approached, holding a glowing flower. The child handed it to Alex, smiling shyly. Lyra explained that this was a symbol of gratitude and trust. Alex's heart warmed. He realized that his actions had created bonds far deeper than he had imagined. As evening fell, Alex and Lyra sat near the edge of the floating mountains. The twin suns set, casting brilliant colors across the sky. Alex reflected on the conflict. He had faced danger, protected lives, and shown that humans could be both clever and compassionate. Lyra watched him silently, her admiration growing. "You, clever, strong, kind," she said softly, touching his hand briefly. Alex felt a spark of warmth. He realized that mutual respect and understanding were forming the foundation of something more meaningful than either of them had expected. The next day, a messenger arrived from a nearby village, warning of a secondary attack. Alex immediately began strategizing. He studied the map, calculated energy flows, and devised a plan to protect both settlements while minimizing risk. Lyra communicated his ideas to the elders, who followed his guidance carefully. When the enemy arrived, Alex's strategy proved effective. Villages were shielded, key points defended, and casualties avoided. The rival faction, seeing the humans' ingenuity and the villagers' coordination, finally withdrew. After the battle, the elders gathered once more. They honored Alex with a ceremonial token, a glowing crystal symbolizing bravery and wisdom. Lyra presented it personally, her eyes shining with pride. Alex accepted it humbly, grateful for the trust and recognition. That evening, Alex and Lyra walked through the village. He noticed the subtle ways villagers now acknowledged him, offering nods, smiles, and small gestures of appreciation. Lyra's people had once feared humans, but now they saw value in courage, intelligence, and empathy, traits that Alex had shown in abundance. Lyra led him to a quiet platform overlooking the village. She gestured toward the horizon, then to him, and finally to her heart. Though words were not fully spoken, Alex understood. Trust and admiration had deepened into something far more personal. He smiled, realizing that humanity's greatest strengths, courage, empathy, intelligence, and perseverance, could win hearts and minds even in a world far from Earth. Lyra's admiration was proof that actions and character could transcend species, culture, and language. In the following days, Alex continued to assist the village in strengthening defenses and preparing for any future threats. Lyra stayed close, learning from him and supporting his efforts. Their bond grew stronger with each shared challenge, each problem solved, and each moment of quiet understanding. Alex reflected on the journey so far. He had arrived as a stranded astronaut, lost and alone. Now he was a trusted ally, a teacher, and a friend to an alien people. And most importantly, he had formed a connection with Princess Lyra that went beyond language or custom. A connection built on courage, respect, and shared experience. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Lyra guided Alex to a secluded area where the air shimmered with energy from the floating crystals. She pointed to the sky, then to him, and finally to her heart. Alex understood completely. Mutual respect had grown into admiration, and admiration into the quiet beginnings of affection. He realized that this world, with its strange beauty and challenges, had changed him. Humanity's values, courage, ingenuity, empathy, were recognized and celebrated here. And in winning the trust and respect of Lyra and her people, he had also begun to touch a heart that, until now, had only known caution and duty. The night was calm, filled with soft light and quiet understanding. Alex knew that challenges would continue to come, but he also knew that together, he and Lyra could face them. Their bond had grown stronger through courage, intelligence, and shared purpose. And for Alex, the knowledge that humans could make a difference even on a distant alien world filled him with pride and hope. As he prepared to rest, Alex looked toward the horizon, thinking about the future. He had survived a crash, proved his courage, assisted an alien civilization, and begun to win the admiration of a princess. Humanity's potential had never been clearer, and he was determined to continue proving that humans could shine even among the stars. Lyra watched him from nearby, golden eyes reflecting the soft glow of crystals. She had seen bravery, intelligence, and compassion in this human, and she knew that he was extraordinary. For the first time, she felt that humans were not just strangers. They could be friends, allies, and perhaps more. The world was still full of danger, but Alex had shown that courage, ingenuity, and kindness could overcome obstacles. And in doing so, he had not only protected a village and its people, but had also begun to touch the heart of an alien princess, a bond that promised adventures, challenges, and a connection beyond anything either had expected. The morning air was filled with a soft golden glow as the twin suns rose over the alien horizon. Captain Alex Reynolds stood on a floating platform overlooking the village. The past weeks had been challenging, filled with danger, learning, and discovery. He had survived a crash, proved his courage, helped Lyra's people, and faced hostile forces. Yet today felt different. Today felt like the beginning of something lasting. Princess Lyra approached quietly, her golden eyes reflecting the morning light. She held a glowing crystal in her hands, its pulse soft and steady. Alex greeted her with a smile, feeling a mixture of excitement and anticipation. "You come," she said simply, gesturing for him to follow. Alex nodded. He had learned that her actions spoke louder than words. Lyra led him to the center of the village where elders, villagers, and children had gathered. The air hummed with quiet anticipation. Alex's heart raced. Something important was about to happen. The village elders began a ceremony, their gestures precise and solemn. They used glowing symbols and light patterns to honor Alex for his courage, intelligence, and selflessness. Alex watched carefully, understanding that this was more than recognition. It was trust, respect, and acceptance. Lyra stepped forward, holding the glowing crystal. She placed it in Alex's hands, and he felt its warmth and steady pulse. It was a symbol of unity, courage, and the bond he had formed with her people. "You, hero," Lyra said softly, her golden eyes meeting. Alex felt a swell of pride and gratitude. He had come as a stranger, a lost astronaut. But through courage, intelligence, and compassion, he had become someone her people could rely on. The villagers cheered quietly, not with loud noise but with gestures of approval, bows, and nods. They had once feared humans, yet now they trusted Alex completely. He realized that humanity's values, bravery, empathy, and ingenuity, could inspire respect even on distant worlds. After the ceremony, Lyra led Alex to a quiet platform overlooking the floating mountains. The twin suns reflected off rivers of violet and green, casting brilliant light across the sky. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight and beauty of the moment. Lyra gestured toward him, then to the sky, and finally to her heart. The meaning was clear. Admiration and something more had grown between them. Alex smiled, understanding completely. Trust and respect had blossomed into connection and affection. You... special, Lyra said softly, her words simple but full of meaning. Alex felt warmth in his chest. He had survived countless challenges, but nothing compared to the significance of this moment, the acknowledgement of his heart by someone extraordinary. Over the next days, Alex continued to work with the villagers. He helped improve energy distribution, reinforced floating bridges, and shared simple methods from Earth to make daily life safer and more efficient. Lyra observed and assisted, their teamwork seamless. Together, they demonstrated that collaboration between species could achieve remarkable results. The villagers began to look at Alex not just as a helper, but as a friend, teacher, and protector. Children followed him with curiosity, asking questions. He could answer with gestures, drawings, and simple words. Elders consulted him for advice, valuing his perspective. Even the natural world seemed to acknowledge his presence. Wild creatures no longer feared him but approached cautiously, sensing his calm and kindness. One afternoon, Lyra guided Alex to a hidden grove where energy crystals grew naturally. The light from the crystals reflected in her eyes, making her look ethereal. She handed him a small crystal, pulsing gently. Alex understood. This was a personal gift, a symbol of trust and connection. "You... heart," she said, placing her hand over his. Alex felt a rush of emotion. He had come to this world alone, uncertain of his place, and now he was being offered something profound. A bond that transcended language, species, and culture. That evening, they watched the twin moons rise, their light casting silver reflections across the floating mountains. Alex thought about Earth, about humanity's journey through space, and about how much courage, ingenuity, and empathy had guided him here. Lyra sat close, her presence comforting and inspiring. "You... human. Brave, kind, clever," she whispered softly. Alex smiled, gently taking her hand in return. He realized that these qualities, the ones humans often took for granted, had earned him respect, admiration, and even affection in a world far from home. Over time, Alex and Lyra became inseparable. They shared daily routines, solved problems together, and explored the wonders of the alien world. Every act of courage, intelligence, or kindness strengthened the bond between them. The villagers watched quietly, seeing not only the human skill but also the connection forming between the princess and the astronaut. One day, Lyra brought Alex to the highest floating mountain, where the air was thin and the view breathtaking. Below them, the village glowed softly, connected by bridges and energy streams. Lyra turned to Alex, golden eyes shining with emotion. "You... my trust, my heart," she said. Alex felt the weight and beauty of her words. Though simple, they carried profound meaning. He realized that love had grown naturally from respect, courage, and shared experiences. Alex knelt slightly, taking her hand. "Lyra, I... care," he said, using the simplest words to convey the depth of his feelings. She smiled, a soft, radiant smile, and touched his cheek. The bond they had formed was no longer just admiration or trust. It was mutual affection, strong and genuine. The villagers gathered below, witnessing a quiet but meaningful moment. They recognized that the human had not only earned Lyra's trust, but had touched her heart. Alex had proven that humanity's greatest strengths, courage, empathy, intelligence, and determination, could create connections that transcended worlds. That evening, a small celebration took place. Villagers brought gifts of glowing flowers, crystal artifacts, and symbols of their culture. Alex accepted them humbly, showing gratitude through gestures and smiles. Lyra stood by his side, clearly proud of his accomplishments and the bond they shared. As night deepened, Alex and Lyra walked to the edge of the floating mountains. The air shimmered with energy from the crystals embedded in the rocks. Lyra paused, turning to him, her eyes filled with light and emotion. "You, my human," My heart, she said again softly. Alex smiled, holding her hand gently. Lyra. My heart. Yours, he replied. In that moment, words were not necessary. Their connection, built on courage, trust, understanding, and shared experience, spoke more powerfully than any language. The following days were filled with joy and discovery. Alex continued to assist the village while also exploring the alien world with Lyra. They discovered hidden valleys, unusual creatures, and ancient relics of her people's history. Each discovery deepened their bond, showing that humans and aliens could learn from each other and achieve great things together. One morning, Lyra guided Alex to a sacred grove where her ancestors had once meditated and celebrated life. She held his hand, leading him through glowing pathways lined with crystals. At the center of the grove was a natural platform, bathed in light from the twin suns. Lyra stepped forward, gesturing for Alex to stand beside her. She placed a crystal in his hands, and it pulsed warmly. The villagers appeared quietly, observing. From a distance, Lyra's gesture was clear. She was acknowledging him as someone important not just to her but to her people. You, hero, human, my future? She asked softly, her golden eyes meeting his. Alex felt a mixture of awe, joy, and responsibility. He nodded, understanding fully. Yes, Lyra, future, together, he replied. The villagers erupted in quiet cheers, their gestures of approval and respect echoing across the platforms. Alex had not only earned the admiration of Lyra, but also the trust and friendship of an entire civilization. Humanity's courage, intelligence, and empathy had been recognized on a world far from Earth. As evening fell, Alex and Lyra sat on the edge of the highest floating mountain. The twin moons rose, casting silver light over the village below. They held hands, watching the glow of energy streams and crystal lights. Alex realized that his journey, which had begun with a crash and uncertainty, had led him to a place of connection, respect, and love. He had survived, helped, and inspired. He had shown that humanity's greatest strengths could transcend planets, species, and language. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, golden eyes reflecting the soft glow of the crystals. Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had come to this world alone, but now he was part of something extraordinary, a partnership, a bond, and a future built on trust, courage, and affection. The stars twinkled above, and the alien world pulsed softly with life. Alex smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. Together, he and Lyra would face challenges, explore wonders, and continue proving that the human heart could shine brightly, even among the stars. And in that moment, on a distant, glowing planet, a stranded astronaut had not only survived, he had won the heart of an alien princess and the respect of a civilization, showing that humanity's best qualities were powerful enough to change worlds.